Damar Hamlin's shocking infield collapse left fans sick with worry and spectators shocked. The reason for this was later revealed as cardiac arrest. Right now, the pro player is still in critical condition as prayers and support pour in from across the country. We're going to be telling you all the latest details about Hamlin's condition. Plus, there are recent revelations that a rare trauma may have caused the footballer's collapse. Stay tuned for all this and more. First and foremost, Hamlin's shocking collapse. Damar Hamlin, safety for the Buffalo Bills, was struck in the chest and head by Cincinnati Bengals player T. Higgins during a live football game. Right after, he collapsed to the ground and became limp. This caused the NFL to suspend a crucial game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Of course, this was swiftly overshadowed by the terrifying incident that occurred in front of a large audience on national television. The 24-year-old's heart stopped pumping after the play, the Bills said in a statement, and that's what led Hamlin to collapse so suddenly. Hamlin was encircled by teammates who kept him hidden from view while he was being treated on the field by a team of independent medical experts and nearby paramedics. Many people were crying and praying. Before being loaded onto a stretcher and sent by ambulance to the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, local medical personnel provided him CPR for about 10 minutes. Later, while supporters from both teams waited outside holding lighted candles and praying, teammate Stephon Diggs went to see Hamlin at the hospital. Hamlin's presently going through additional testing and treatment, according to the Bills statement. Let's hope the professional athlete is able to make a swift recovery. Up next, more details about Hamlin's affliction. Damar suffered his injury while hitting Bengals receiver T. Higgins during a play that seemed to be ordinary and not particularly aggressive. On a 13-yard throw from Joe Burrow, Higgins was carrying the ball when he led with his right shoulder and struck Hamlin in the chest. Then, to knock Higgins down, Hamlin wrapped his arms over his shoulders and helmet. Damar then suddenly rose to his feet and seemed to fix his face mask with his right hand before falling backward and remaining immobile for nearly 3 seconds. Hamlin was unconscious for 19 minutes while getting medical care. He needed an automated external defibrillator in addition to CPR on the field, according to Cincinnati's WXIX-TV. Now, for the rare condition that could have caused the collapse. Cardiologists claim that it's still too early to determine what caused Hamlin's heart to stop. Currently, it's speculated that the pro athlete went through an uncommon sort of trauma known as commotio cordis. This is when a person suffers a heavy chest blow, which results in the heartbeat quivering and then develops into a rapid cardiac arrest. According to Rod Passman, director of the Center for Arrhythmia Research at Northwestern University's Feinberg School of Medicine, the condition only occurs under extremely unusual conditions. So, for instance, it'd happen when a direct blow to the heart occurs at exactly the wrong location at the exact wrong timing of the heart's rhythm cycle. According to cardiac rhythm expert Mark Link of the UT Southwestern Medical Center, commotio cordis occurs approximately 20 times a year. Roughly 60% of people who are affected survive. According to Link, the greatest concern for survivors is brain injury due to a lack of oxygen after the heart stops pumping blood. Deep sedation, which rests the brain, can assist doctors in lowering that danger. Up next, did Hamlin have a pre-existing condition? Football tackles that are very forceful to the body are quite common, although commotio cordis is incredibly rare, according to Dr. Iman Chug, a cardiology professor at the University of Michigan. Chug said it's hypothetical but possible that Hamlin's heart stopped because of a pre-existing cardiac issue. According to Dr. Mario Jessup, chief medical officer of the American Heart Association, underlying heart disease is often the most frequent cause of sudden cardiac arrest. Even with younger players, she noted, it's very unusual to learn that highly active sportsmen have undiscovered heart issues. According to the American Heart Association, more than 365,000 people in the U.S. have sudden cardiac arrest outside of a hospital environment each year. Currently, Damar's medical history isn't public. Jessup added that the moral of this entire tragic situation is to learn CPR, since it could save someone's life one day. Let's look at why it took so long to postpone the game. The game wasn't formally suspended by the NFL for roughly an hour after Hamlin passed out because league officials were gathering data and speaking with referee Sean Smith, coaches from both teams, and the NFL Players Association. The NFL's emergency action plan, according to Troy Vincent, the league's executive vice president of football operations, had been set underway. Vincent exchanged messages with DeMaurice Smith, the executive director of the NFL Player Association, and NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell. What's more, the chief football administrative officer of the league, Don Aponte, attended the game and spoke with the referee, Bengals coach Zach Taylor, and Bills coach Sean McDermott. Things were developing at a fast pace, Vincent explained. He added that it became clear from the phone call that emotions were at an all-time high and the scenario was very tense. Vincent disputed the claim made made during the ESPN broadcast that both teams received a 5-minute warm-up before resuming play, he remarked that he wasn't sure where that came from. He claimed that they didn't even consider discussing a warm-up option before starting play again. Adding on, he said that would be absurd and uncaring, and that they'd never put the players in that position. Moving on, what's next for the NFL? The Bills and Bengals are both competing for the top seed in the AFC. The Bengals had a chance to win the AFC North with a victory and were also in the fight for the number 1 seed along with Kansas City when the Bills entered the game in first place. When the Bills-Bengals game was called after the first quarter, the Bengals were up 7-3. The NFL hasn't made any decisions on a potential later kickoff. The NFL's regular season is about to end, and the playoffs are set to start on January 14th. Up next, Hamlin shows some signs of improvement. Ever since experiencing cardiac arrest on the field, Damar Hamlin is now showing indications of recovery, although he's still being treated in intensive care, according to an update from his team. The Buffalo Bills player is still in critical condition in the hospital despite this update. Dorian Glenn, Hamlin's uncle, had claimed to CNN that his nephew needed 2 resuscitations, but a family friend and Hamlin's marketing representative, Jordan Rooney, later clarified those statements and claimed that the safety only required 1 resuscitation. Speaking to the NFL Network, Rooney says that the situation is slowly but surely starting to look up. Hamlin's family has spoken out in gratitude to the fans who displayed massive support for the star. They were also all praises for the work of the medical personnel and the support from Coach Zach Taylor and the Bengals. Their statement said they were deeply moved by the kind wishes, encouragement, and contributions from fans around the nation. Coming up next, Joe Biden speaks to the NFL player's family. Joe Biden says he's met with the parents of Damar Hamlin. As Hamlin's condition remains serious, the U.S. president said to reporters returning to the White House from Kentucky that he'd spoken with the player's parents at length. The president is yet another person in the long line of supporters that have spoken about their concern for Damar. Now, for Hamlin's injury, a grim reminder of the dangers of football. Kirk Cousins, the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, claimed that Damar Hamlin's situation is constantly in players' thoughts and serves as a reminder of the dangers involved in the sport. After the incident, he claimed he went to bed with a heavy heart and requested his wife to monitor developments about Hamlin's health. Every meeting they'd had so far would start with talking about the incident, said Cousins. He added that this was an important step and that the accident had been occupying people's minds significantly. He continued by saying that it's difficult to ignore or move past what happened. The player added that he and his teammates are professionals and have a task to do. They're aware of the dangers in every game, but still have to go play. Harrison Phillips, a defensive tackle with the Vikings, recalled being on his knees when he learned the news. Phillips stated that he's been praying and contemplating what he might possibly do. Adding on, he claimed that there isn't much you can do but attempt to reach out to people, let them know they're loved, and provide them with all the support you can. Following up, Vikings coach reminds players to seek mental health resources. Seeing a friend and a teammate collapse on the field must have been an extremely traumatic ordeal for the rest of the NFL teams. It undoubtedly affects one's emotional state of being. Coach Kevin O'Connell of the Minnesota Vikings said he personally issued a message to Vikings players addressing the emotional and mental hardship as the Vikings and the majority of NFL clubs resumed practice for the first time since Damar Hamlin's fall. The former NFL quarterback said in the statement that he recognized how distressing it must have been for them to see Hamlin collapse out of the blue. Last but not least, players say that Hamlin's injury wasn't Higgins' fault. NFL players and Higgins' Cincinnati Bengals colleagues support him, claiming that he did nothing wrong during the play that led to Damar Hamlin's cardiac arrest. After the Bengals' first practice following the incident, quarterback Joe Burrow remarked that there was nothing they could have done about that hit. He added that the scariest aspect of the situation was that the hit occurs on every single play of every game. Bart Scott, a former NFL player, claimed on ESPN that Higgins was largely to blame for lowering his head and charging his body into Hamlin's chest after collecting a 13-yard pass. Dallas Cowboys linebacker Micah Parsons retaliated against Scott. Angered by Scott's remarks, Parsons angrily tweeted asking why some people are even allowed to speak on TV. He added that it was wild to pin the blame of a freak accident on another player. Let's take a moment to keep Hamlin and his family in our thoughts as they deal with the aftermath of his collapse. And that's all for today. What are your thoughts on Hamlin's shocking injury? Comment below and let us know. As always, thank you for watching, and remember to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more. We'll see you in the next one.